Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage in the beautiful sunny state of Maine. I'm going to call it glorious. It's getting dangerously close to freezing overnight the last couple nights. But during the day it still gets high 50s and low 60s. And looks like the next week's worth of weather is going to be spectacular. Today I had planned and still plan on carrying out most of my mission of digging out my spare Nova parts so I can deliver the car to my buddy Charlie next week. I'm excited for him and excited to have the space in the shop. So that plan got derailed. My son didn't feel good this morning and I've been taking care of him and did a bunch of errands and ran to the post office and did shopping, and my life's no different than anybody else's. It's just, some days don't go according to plan. So here it is after lunch, and as you can see in the thumbnail, I hauled a load of parts down here with my new golf cart that I picked up this week. I slid over to New Hampshire, met a new friend. The guy's an LS swapper. He was putting a 6-liter in a early Biscayne, one of the round looking ones, 61 or 2 I'm guessing. Pretty cool car, a 4-door even, so I kind of liked it. But the cart is okay. All golf carts are ridiculously priced. This one he just rebuilt the engine in and got a few bugs to work out. He basically just rebuilt it and put it up for sale. I drove it short trips. It smells a little rich, but it runs okay. I went on a 1-mile mission yesterday to pick up my son down the main road, and both directions it was starting to have some issues. When the engine cooled off, it was running good again. So carburetor issues. I think I could have bought a imported carburetor on Amazon. They were $18 to $25, or a little searching on eBay, I found a genuine E-Z-Go in the E-Z-Go box carburetor for $92, and that's the one I went with. Seemed like I don't want to make a career out of changing the carburetor on it, so if it comes to that, pretty sure it has a carburetor issue because I saw some fuel dripping out of it, and I can't even buy parts to fix it for that. So $92 if it comes to putting that on there. But I'm going to run it enough to see if it clears up, because it's brand new. I'm not sure why it needed an engine, but it had to put a crankshaft in it, a couple pistons. She's fresh. But they are ridiculously priced. I could have bought a small car, but I want my son to have some steering wheel time. He's already driven me all around. And of course I had to order some accessories for it. A tail light. It has a headlight. I'm going to put a indicator on the back. I've taped on the orange triangle off my tractor. I think I'll actually buy one and put it on there. That seems like a good idea. A rear view mirror and the carburetor. That's about it. But I opened up all my boxes. Again, it was sitting on the back of the cart in the thumbnail. And because every time I get a project, the hoarder or project coordinator, let's go with project coordinator in me, kicks in, and I inventory what I have, what I'm going to need. In this case, I'm talking about the Race 55 Chevy. And behind me on the bandsaw is a strange box with a 457 big pinion Pro Gear set that I bought. Originally, it was in a car that I used to run Top Sportsman with. The guy built it, also name is Sean. And then the car disappeared for a while, and a buddy of mine, I found it, well, he found it. I recommended it. He bought it. He ran it for a few years, but I bought all the spare parts that came with it. And I paid $100 for that ring and pinion, and that's a wicked good deal if you price what they are now. And as I've said before, I have no problem with used parts. They're either good or bad. So it's overkill for the power level I'll probably have, so no worries, along with the rest of the stuff. So I had the ring and pinion, which is in perfect shape, and I had a strange big pinion, 35 spline pinion yoke. And that's all I had. So there's many choices you can make. If you're going to build a bulletproof differential, I think the strange ultra case is probably the best out there. I don't know. I'm sure Mark Williams has something comparable. In this case, I'm just going to go with the Yukon through bolt. It does have the ability for the 10-bolt pinion support, which I bought. It takes different shims if you're going to run the 10-bolt pinion support, and 2 different size studs. I went with the kit because I wanted the studs. And I didn't have any 10-bolt shims, at least I don't remember that I do. So the fact that I already had a yoke and stuff, I almost made a mistake, because Quick Performance, you can buy all the individual parts, or they have these kits, which came with a different yoke. I ended up basically getting a free yoke out of the deal by mid-purchase saying, hey, wait a minute, don't you guys have a kit? So, you know, I bought the Yukon through-bolt kit with the upgraded big pinion, the whole bearing kit, which gives me both sets of ring gear bolts, because a spool allows you to use all the bolts, which is cool. And the strange ring gear has all the holes in it, I believe, so more bolts. Can't go wrong, right? So it's going to be 40 spline, 457. That's a lot of gear, but that's a lot of tire. That's a very tall tire. Remember, every video contains an old sock, if you look hard enough. Kind of like Where's Waldo? So that's what I have, and that's what I'm going to put in it. I'm sure it'll be fine. Now, choices of yoke, I think I will save my Strange yoke. I was just comparing it to the Quick Performance. There's about a 1/4 inch height difference, the Strange being slightly longer. So when I build my drive shaft, I guess I'll try to have a 1/4 inch of come and go. And I'll save this if I ever get better stuff, because if you're going to have one third member set up, ever get to the point where I'm actually running the car or doing anything, you might as well have a second one set up. So that's the plan with all this junk. Well, not all of it. I have been trading back and forth for 10 years now, a 350 geared, I think it has a track lock differential, just a street differential that was in a stock single rib case, 306 bearing. I recently got it back in trade, and I've decided to take the guts out of that and put it in one of the 3.25 Dana Spicer cases that I showed you a couple of months ago. So now I have the situation where I have a 306 differential, and I want to put it in the 325 case. Now that's the easy direction to go. I've gone the other way. I put the 325 into the 306, and that's a very strange bearing. But in this case, while I was on the phone with Quick Performance, they have the conversion bearing. You can see how fat the race is, but it allows you to put the 306, in this case, positive traction that I have. It has a brand new 350 gear set. Pretty simple swap, and I'll do it on the channel here, but now I can take what is undesirable to me. I don't like stock Ford cases. They're weak, and for the price of that aluminum center section, like I say, I got paid $215 for it. I can make a desirable differential. It also has a stock Ford yoke of 1330 U-joint size, I believe. And I just don't want to build a drive shaft or for whatever vehicle I'm going to put this in, and then, because the Ford yokes come in different lengths. So I wanted something standard, so I also bought the Quick Performance 28 spline yoke. So when I convert, I have the bearings and the yoke, and I have everything else, and I can do that rear end as well. So I can put together two third members with two completely different destinations. But it's better than having a whole bunch of parts sitting around, I guess. And in both rear end builds, there won't be any crush collar. There'll be shim that comes with the big pinion kit that I bought. I don't know if you noticed the sheer size of the inner bearing. It's pretty impressive. So the only reason I wanted the 10-bolt pinion support is, if I'm going to build a car, I'm going to build a car, and at least in top sportsman rules, you have to enclose the rear U-joint with a little can as well that bolts onto your pinion support and encloses the rear U-joint. I built one for the orange car when I had it, and I still have all the parts I've been saving for this street/race car I've been building, so I have the parts for a drive shaft enclosure as well. And what more perfect application can I think of? I have a single fire system, an old parachute, a window. Now I've been saving junk just for this purpose. This car was definitely made to be. friends have done some research on the original owner, and I was correct in assuming he had a top alcohol dragster. So that car was definitely going to get a blown Hemi and be street driven. This guy was ahead of his time. If it's built in the era, I think it's probably built before Y2K or around then. He passed away 10 years ago, so. But yeah, definitely seems to be an interesting character. The more I learn about all that, so interesting for sure. But as I mentioned in the introductory video on the 55, which I've yet to set up a playlist on my channel for the 55, but it'll have its own. The cage is not finished, and acquiring full lengths of chrome moly tubing locally isn't impossible, but not as easy as it used to be, and certainly more expensive. Long story short, I had two pieces, which was equivalent. I bought one length, which is like 21 or 2 feet of 120 DOM for another project I was working on. It's been standing in the corner, and a friend of mine has some chrome moly tubing. Long story short, I traded him my full length for about 5/8 of a length of the 1 5/8 083 chrome moly. And he also had a full length, which is 21 feet. We cut it in half, 21 feet-ish, it varies, of 1 1/4 083, which I'll need for the return on the Dorex and a bunch of other stuff. So I think now I have enough to definitely do the door bars and some other pieces that I see missing. Now I've had the car a week. Let's talk about the 55, the chassis itself. And choices were made when it was built. Choices that I may or may not make if I was to build it from scratch. And I don't want to cut it apart and start over. I'm going to work with what's there. With the end goal, if I can make it, the faster it searches for, the more valuable it's going to be. But you have to follow the rules. Now I have bought, and I still have to look for my SFI 25-1 paperwork. I found my 25-4 paperwork that I bought after I fixed the orange car. My brother and I fixed the orange car. I had to get the blueprint as to how to do it and interpret what they were telling me was missing, and bars that had to be moved. And I learned a lot, even though I didn't want to do it at the time. I learned a lot about chassis building. Anybody that can do that for a living, man, that's a hard job, and they make it look easy. I'm just trying to finish what's there, but I want it to do it correctly. So I'm reading, and I'm looking at my main hoop. Again, I've had the car a week. I've been studying it. It comes down past me, behind me, and it tips in toward the frame rail, the center of the car. In the 25-1 paperwork, or 25-4 in this case, but I believe it says on both of them, they allow you to run a straight outrigger straight down to catch the Dorex coming back. So 14A, I think they call it, A and B. So before I do anything, I'm going to research the heck out of that to make sure every move I make is going to be kosher. You don't want to get all welded in and finished and the aluminum fit back into the tin work and everything and go to get your chassis cert and they say, oh, that can't be like that. So you want to have knowledge and conversations. You can actually, I've talked to him before, the guy that's actually going to be putting the sticker on it probably, or one of the guys. And before I do anything, I'll make sure I'm doing it correctly, if it can be done with this car. I wish they made the car unnecessarily small inside. The guy was a small guy, I'm guessing. The transmission tunnel is huge, but we'll work around it. And it has to be comfortable, it has to be safe. So it'll be a challenge, but I believe at least I have enough chrome moly to do that. And I have to make the funny car enclosure. I don't know if I'm going to just go ahead and buy a kit. I've been studying the kits. I got an idea how I want it to be relatively not intrusive. I built them in the past where I kind of got carried away and it's just too big. You don't want it to inhibit your movement. You really don't want to bang your head off it. So yeah, all things for future Sean to figure out, but that's probably going to be part of the winter's project. I'd like to have the chassis done. People have asked me what I'm going to do with the body. Well, I don't want it to get worse. It's been sitting bare metal for a long time. I don't want to just, if the door's matched, I might consider just clearing the rest, but that's not going to happen. So just for now, I bought, 3 cases of flat black primer, and as I work on stuff, I'm just going to, a gallon would have been cheaper, but I don't even want to make a whole process out of it. I'm just going to work on small areas when I have time, and whatever I put on, I can sand back off, but I want to preserve what's there, and it may end up staying like that. I don't know, but I wanted something simple. And again, the project coordinator in me, I've bought LED tail lights with bezels and all that stuff. The 55 of the Tri-5s, as far as lighting goes, is, the stuff is more reasonable. And I have some marker light housings, and it didn't have any door latches in it, so I bought a set of those and door handles and all that stuff. And I'll take you over to the car to show you what I was hoping was going to work out in the trunk. It didn't. My buddy Jeff, who's an excellent parts man, I sent him just a picture of a tape measure laying on the trunk lid. When they re-engineered the trunk lid, the guy who did that must be a genius. It works better than my black 55, which is kind of stock, but not because it's been tubbed. But on this car, they re-engineered the hinge, and there's obviously a spot for gas struts that would assist and or hold it up. Well, we bought a couple struts we thought would be too strong, and they might make it easier for me to pick up, but they don't hold it up. So let's just go over and look at it. And here we are in the trunk of the 55 with this beautifully crafted hinge. I haven't even looked up under there to see what that even looks like. But I can tell you the deck lid on a 55 Chevy is heavy. And these brackets were already in place, so it was obvious what I think that their intention was. And believe it or not, these nuts and bolts, finger tight, were just sitting here the whole time I transported it back, and for all the years it's been sitting around. But these didn't do a whole lot helping me lift the deck lid, which is also not much to grab onto. Right now I'm putting my finger in the door lock, but I guess in the plates on there, maybe I'll have more to grab onto. But yeah. When you study roll cages in Tri-5s, which I was doing before I even had one, when it comes down to this bar, typically you can either go straight down like this one, or a lot of times they bend it and drop it down over there, which kind of makes it look weak. So this is probably stronger, but I don't like the fact your feet end up slightly ahead of it. They did run the lower chassis around it, but I believe I'm going to run a bar from here back up there. So there's a nice echo right here where I'm talking. Lots of work to do. And this is what I'm talking about. The main hoop bends in that direction. I believe you're allowed to run an outrigger straight down. Otherwise, the door X, the return, the upper one will go here. But the lower one would have a strange bend to it, which is not impossible either. But my understanding with the SFI paperwork, because I've already bought a version of it, all the upgrades or updates that happen over the years are available on their website for free once you've bought the initial hunk of paperwork. So, but yes, the transmission tunnel is very wide. It's beautiful, and there's still plenty of legroom and stuff, but it's just probably didn't need to be that wide. But it may explain itself as I get working on it. All this talk about chassis certs and whatnot, if you don't know, all that is critiqued is, get my hand out here, from here to here, the driver's compartment. They don't care about the front and back of the car. All that matters is the centerpiece to protect the driver. I set the unfinished Chevy motor plate ahead of the Mopar engine plate, and I have a big block Chevy front plate, and I had an LS one, but I can't find it, so I've ordered the new LS front plate as well, just the blank with a bunch of holes drilled in it. It's, probably done on a CNC or whatever, so the holes are accurate around the water pump, which is handy. These mid plates are homemade for sure. And I've made plates in the past. If you have one to copy, it's certainly a lot easier. But in this case, the front plate has never been installed. And I probably will tie into the upper strut mounts as well. So it'll be interesting, but at least in this case, I can bolt a block to the mid plate. And I'll know where the front of the engine is. Reverse engineering like that is actually, I believe, more difficult than just putting it in wherever you want and making brackets, but I'll figure it out. One last highlight that I noticed is, if I haven't done it yet, but there's a bolt on the top of the fender, there's a bolt on the bottom, and a slide mechanism right there that allows you to slide the front end ahead. And then there's this tilt piece which allows you to tilt the front end or remove it. And again, lots more studying to do, but I'm pretty sure my memory is correct that I need to make the firewall out of steel, at least on the driver's side, but no big deal. Just that one piece right there. Maybe add some more elaborate bead rolling. Why not? Well, I gotta get busy and try to accomplish something today, other than rambling on about future builds. Well, it's here now. This shirt, if you noticed, is not one of the ones I bought on eBay. I think my buddy did. I stopped by his house the other day to drop off some stuff, and he handed me these shirts and said they didn't fit him, but they sure fit me nice. And they actually match my eBay pants, so I'm looking, other than my patches here, looking all right. They're not pretty, but neither am I. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon.